Good afternoon. Now I'm just going to give this a few moments so that I can press all the right buttons, make sure I've got everything running properly, and that we give our attendees an opportunity to join correctly from the waiting room. So just bear with me one moment. Okay, I can see we've got that open and I've pressed all the right recording buttons. Yes, okay. So welcome to this afternoon's webinar from Smart Vision. We're talking this afternoon about SPSS license options and trying to kind of simplify and explain some of the ways that IBM SPSS is licensed these days, and hopefully answer some of your questions about how that might apply to you and to your situation. So before we kind of launch into the topic, a few housekeeping points. We are recording the session today, so that means once we're done here, we'll get this processed for you and we'll get an email over to you that has an opportunity to watch the full video recording, but also to download the slides that we're using. So any of the links and things that you see in the slides that we're using today will then be live links in the materials that you're emailed after the session. We can run this again for you if you have a group of people or, a society that's looking at SPSS, then we will be more than happy to run this as a private session for you where we could open up the lines and answer your questions. And for today's session, you'll notice that your lines are all automatically muted as you join. So we can't have you verbally ask questions, but you can ask questions using either the chat or the Q&A function at the bottom of the Zoom window. So if you kind of hover your mouse at the bottom of the Zoom window, you get some controls pop up. So either use the chat or the Q&A function in there. Once we've finished with the presentation, we will stay on the line and I'll read those out of our presenters, and we will hopefully have a bit of a discussion and answer those for you. If there's some question that we can't answer because we need to go and look some stuff up, I will make a note of your details and we will come back to you as soon as we can. Okay, you've got, could I have the next slide, please? We've got two of us here today. My name is Rachel. I'm mostly in the background covering questions and what have you, but our main presenter is Felix. So you can drive from here.
Perfect. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you everybody for joining us today. I've spoken to some of you before, but for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Felix Craitie and I'm part of the customer care team at Smart Vision. I actually started working at SPSS around 20 years ago when it was a standalone company. Then I moved to IBM when SPSS was acquired, and I stayed there for about 5 years, but still predominantly working with SPSS software before joining the Smart Vision team in 2015. So I have been answering questions about SPSS licenses for a very long time. And in terms of introducing Smart Vision, I'll just take a moment to do that too for anybody who hasn't worked with us yet. So we're a partner of IBM specializing in SPSS software, which means we can advise you about license options, we can sell you software, we can help with the installation of your software, and we can provide support and training as well. Smart Vision has a lot of experience with SPSS, with most of us having spent several decades working in and around the software. So please do ask us anything that you'd like to, and we're very happy to help. And moving on to the content of today's session, this webinar is all about SPSS statistics license options. And the reason that we're running this session is that license options for IBM SPSS statistics software are fairly complicated. There are lots of different things to think about, and for many people the terminology can be new and confusing. So the objective of today's session is to give you the information that you need to help you make the best choice for your organisation about the licence that you'll need. It's also worth saying that there have been many changes to SPSS licenses over the years. So even if you've used the software in the past, things might have changed. So whatever your experience of SPSS to date, hopefully you'll get something useful from this session. So what exactly are we going to cover today? I'm going to break down the license options to help you understand the best type of license for your particular needs. So if you're thinking about buying SPSS statistics software, there are three main things to consider. The first one is, what functionality will you need? The second is how many people will need the software and how are they going to be accessing it? And the third is how long will they be needing the software for? The answers to these questions will help to determine the right license for you. There is quite a lot to consider up front, but it's definitely worth working through this process to make sure that you don't spend more money than you need to by buying more software than you actually need, or on the other hand, making sure that you actually have the right software to meet your needs and you don't get less than it is that you need. So thinking about functionality first, as many of you know, SPSS is a modular package, which means that you buy different parts depending on what it is that you need to do. SPSS base is the core component, and then there are various modules which give you extra functionality. It's important to understand what the software is going to be used for so that you can select the right combination of modules for your needs. So how are you going to work out what it is that you need? Our suggestion is that you direct whoever's going to be using the software to the Smart Vision website to get familiar with the module options. I've included a link on this page, but I'm also going to take you to our website now, to have a look. Okay, so there are a number of ways that you can access information about the modules, but I'm going to take you to resources and then video guides. So if you click through to that, then down the right-hand side of the page, you'll see it says 2-minute module overviews. You can click on each of these modules to learn a little bit more about what the module contains. And you'll also find that each of the modules has a 2-minute video, which gives you some more detail. I really do recommend that if you're approached by somebody in your organisation who says they need SPSS, that you suggest that they come and have a look at these links to be clear on exactly what they need. If you're new to SPSS, then these links will set out all the functionality that they're going to need to know about. And if they're familiar with SPSS, then it's still a useful step because, as mentioned, the licensing for SPSS has changed a bit over the years. So it might be that the setup that they've had in the past might not be right for them anymore. And just to be clear, depending on what it is you need to do, SPSS can either be bought just as base on its own, or else you can buy any additional modules that you need as well. And I guess it's probably worth saying that if all of the talk of different modules is just a little bit confusing for you, then please do just feel free to get in touch with us, and we're very happy to have that conversation with you directly. So once you've considered the modules and decided if you need anything over and above SPSS base, the next thing to consider is how many people will need to use the software, as well as how regularly they'll need to use it. Some of our customers use SPSS on a daily basis and others only use it occasionally. So in terms of license options, SPSS statistics can be accessed in 2 different ways, either with an authorized license or a concurrent license. An authorized license allows a single installation of the software, whereas a concurrent license can be installed on as many machines as you like, but only allows a certain number of people to access the software at any given time. For the concurrent license, a license manager is installed on a central server, and this checks the license to make sure that there aren't more people using the software than you're licensed for. The concurrent license is a much more expensive option because you get a huge amount of flexibility for the license. Anybody in the organization can use the software. The restriction is simply on how many people use it at one time. So that flexibility does come with a greater cost. Let's consider a couple of use cases now to think about the 2 different options. So if you have 5 or fewer people who'll need to use the software, then an authorized license is likely to be the cheaper option for you. You purchase the number of licenses you need, and each can be installed on a single machine. So if you have 2 people who need the software, you purchase 2 authorized users and install the software on 2 individual machines. Please do remember the rule about single installation though. If someone has a laptop and a PC and needs SPSS to be installed on both, then they would actually need 2 licenses to do that. So when we work with customers in this situation, we would generally recommend that they choose 1 machine for the SPSS installation if possible, because if they have to have the software installed on both machines, it's going to be twice the price for that single user. If you ever need to move the software to a new machine, or if someone leaves your organization, you can always do that by contacting our support team, who will be able to help you make that move, so you're not indefinitely tied to whatever the decision is that you've made for that user. A concurrent license, on the other hand, might make more sense where there are many people in the organization who might need to use the software, but they aren't all likely to use it at the same time. So, for example, if you have a team working across different time zones, or a group of people who all only need to access SPSS on an occasional basis, and a use case for the concurrent license might be that you have a 2-user concurrent license, which means you can install the software on any number of computers you like, but only 2 people can access that software at any given time. And when the third person tries to log in, they'll get an error message and they won't be able to access the license until one of the other people has logged off. And if you're trying to decide between an authorized and a concurrent license, it's also worth thinking about how your use of SPSS statistics might change over time. And ultimately, the decision might just come down to price, because the concurrent license is, as mentioned, a lot more expensive. But we're very happy to talk to you about it more, explain the options further, and help you make the best decision for your particular setup. So the final thing to think about is whether you'd like to rent the software or buy it outright. A subscription license is rented from us on a monthly basis. Some individuals or organisations with short-term projects will rent for 1 month or a set number of months, depending on the needs of their particular project. However, the license is usually bought for 12 months at a time as an annual subscription license, because renting the license annually is cheaper per month than renting on a month by month basis. It's important to note that if you rent a subscription license for less than 12 months, then you can't pick and choose the exact modules you might need. Instead, you have to choose between preset bundled options of modules. But if you buy a subscription license for a 1-year term, so over the 12 months, then you've got the freedom to choose the modules that you need, and additional modules can be added easily as you go along too in the future. And if you're considering a concurrent license, which is what I mentioned on the last slide, the one where you can install the software on an unlimited number of computers, but it's limited by the number of people who can access it at any given time, then a concurrent license is only available for the annual subscription license. IBM don't provide concurrent licenses for shorter term subscription periods. So a subscription license purchased for anywhere between 1 and 11 months can only be bought as an authorized license, where you pay for each installation that you need. At the end of your subscription rental period, you can either cancel your license or you can renew it as needed. The subscription license is the cheapest way to use SPSS if you're likely to need it from anywhere between 1 month and 3 years. And the annual subscription license is the most popular license that we sell. I should also mention that all of our subscription licenses give you access to telephone technical support and upgrades. And while I'm talking about upgrades, actually, I should say that there's generally a new version of SPSS released annually, with a .dot version released as necessary during the year. The alternative to the subscription license is a perpetual license. This is purchased outright, so your organisation owns it completely. The license comes with 12 months maintenance included, and that gives you access to telephone technical support and upgrades. And at the end of the 12 months, you can renew your maintenance, which is around 20% of the initial purchase price, or you can cancel your maintenance, which means you no longer have access to upgrades and telephone technical support, but you can continue to use the software on the version that you have installed for as long as you like, or for as long as it will run on your operating system. The subscription license is cheaper up front. So if you only need the software for a year or 2, then that option will be cheaper. However, if you're likely to use the software for 3 years or more, then the perpetual license does become the cheaper option. You can have a perpetual license as either an authorized or a concurrent installation, and you have total flexibility over the modules that you buy. So that's another thing to consider. I just wanted to add a quick summary slide so you can compare the subscription and perpetual licenses side by side. I'm very aware that this session is full of words that you might never have heard before, so I'm trying to reiterate things many times, so hopefully they'll make sense. Apologies if this does sound a bit repetitive. Oftentimes we would have this as a conversation on a telephone call, which means you can ask questions as we go along. And I appreciate that I'm sort of rattling through all of this quite quickly. So please post any questions you have. And if it sort of makes some sense but feels a little bit overwhelming, then we're very happy to arrange a one-to-one conversation afterwards as well. And again, ultimately, the choice between the license type might come down to price for you, but please do get in touch with us if you've got any questions and we can help you work out what best meets your needs. So I've now run through all the main considerations with regards to SPSS licenses. By way of a final summary, I wanted to try and recap everything on one slide. So that's what this is. There are three main things for you to consider when buying SPSS software. The first one is what functionality will be needed. The Smart Vision website has lots of information about SPSS Base, which is the core component, and all of the modules. And we can help you with anything that isn't clear. And we can also advise about how best to buy the modules that you have if you need additional modules to SPSS in addition to SPSS Base. The second consideration was how many people need to use the software and how will they likely access it? And the answer to this question will help you decide if you need an authorized license, where you buy one license for each installation you need, or a concurrent license where you can install the software on as many machines as you like, but it's limited by how many people can access it at one time. The final question is, how long will the software be used for? If you'll need the software for between 1 month and 3 years, then renting the software on a subscription license is likely to best meet your needs. But if you'll need the software for longer than 3 years, then a perpetual license is likely to be more cost effective. Hopefully the answers to these questions will steer you towards the best license for what you need. Again, we're very happy to answer any questions if you do need some more help with any of these things. I think that sort of wraps up the information on licenses, but Rachel, before I hand back over to you to see if we've got any questions, there were just a few other things that I wanted to cover quickly. So I wanted to let you know that our software licenses give you free access to our usually paid for self-paced online SPSS training courses. You can see on this PowerPoint page that all of the courses have prices next to them, but if you have an SPSS license with us, then you have free access to any of these courses. These courses are really popular with our customers. They offer a great introductory training course for anybody who's brand new to SPSS. They're also a helpful refresher for people who haven't used the software for a while, and people who are fluent with SPSS Base, but perhaps wanting to develop their understanding of other modules, also find these sessions useful. So please do have a look at them or pass these details on to anyone who will be using SPSS. In fact, I'm just going to pop over to the website and show you where to find these. So if you go to services and then online self-paced training courses, you'll see, hopefully in a minute, all of the courses that I mentioned. And as I said, they've still got the prices with them. So I sort of can't emphasize this enough because sometimes people who buy SPSS software aren't actually the people who are using SPSS software. And sometimes we don't get to speak to the people who are going to be using the software, so we can't let them know about these courses. And sometimes what will happen is a year or two down the line, we'll end up speaking to the people who are using the software and we'll ask them if they've had a chance to look at these courses. And more often than not, they didn't realize these courses existed, and they say that they would have found these courses helpful to improve their efficiency with the software. So if you are somebody who is responsible for buying SPSS but won't be using it, then please do pass on details of these courses. And if you'd like to know how these courses can be accessed for free, then all you need to do is send us an email to our info@ email address, which I'll show in a minute on our final slide. And we just need details of the person who would like the free access. So we need to know their name, their email address, and their job title, and then we can get them set up. I also wanted to promote the large library of free video content that we have on our website. So again, under the resources section, there is so much content here. We've got some video content, blog content, all covering different aspects of SPSS and what you're likely to use and do with the software. I'm just going to go to the FAQ section and show you. So our FAQ section has a number of answers to questions about installation and getting started with SPSS, how to perform key functions in SPSS, and details about some of the statistical techniques. And if you click through, some of these will be written posts, some of them will be video posts. We've also got a section on SPSS, and within there you'll find more videos and blog posts and information. There really is a huge amount of content on the website, and I appreciate that sometimes a website can be a bit tricky to navigate, or once the software is purchased, maybe you kind of move on with your life and get on with using the software. But please do refer people who are using the software to our website, because I think that they'll find it helpful. So I think that that's probably enough of a outline on what's available on the website. And now, I've just gone to the wrong place again, haven't I? There we go. So I'm going to just bring it back to the sides now and wrap up there and hand back over to Rachel to see whether we've had any questions.
I've got a couple, but I would like to invite people to pop any additional questions in the chat or in the Q&A function. Like I said at the beginning, you do have to hover your mouse at the bottom of the Zoom window to get those options to pop back up again. But the first one I've got is, I've got a really old license, which is version 19. How can I get this upgraded?
Okay, would you like me to take that?
Go on.
Okay, so if you've got an old license, then I assume that means you have a perpetual license, which you bought outright, but you cancelled the maintenance on that, which means that you were no longer entitled to upgrades, and you've been continuing to use it since version 19 as it is. So if that's the case and you'd like to upgrade it, then you can get in touch with us directly, and we can reinstate that license for you. So what that means is that we can offer you a reduction on the normal list price of the software, and that will then give you access to the latest version. Once you've bought that reinstated license, you will have access to maintenance and support for 12 months as a part of that reinstatement cost. And at the end of that 12 months, if you want to, you can renew your maintenance, and that will be around 20% of the reinstatement cost that you paid. Or if you're happy running the version that you're on, then you can cancel your maintenance and continue using your new reinstated upgraded license like that.
Very good, thank you. How can I tell what modules I have bought?
Yes, that's a good question. So I'm going to go back to the website to answer that. So if we go to the resources section, and then, and then to FAQs. So on the FAQ section, at the bottom of this first section here, there's a link which says, how do I know which SPSS modules I have installed? So if you click through to that, you'll see a video and some written information underneath which explain how you go about finding that out. It's very straightforward. It's just a short piece of syntax that you enter into your SPSS software, and then you get a clear summary of what the software is that you have.
Okay, thank you. Who is entitled to get these free training courses? So I think that means who's entitled to get them for free without having to pay the extra money.
Yeah, okay. So anybody who buys SPSS software from Smart Vision is entitled to access to the free training. Now, if you have a single authorized user license, then that one individual is entitled to free access. If you have a concurrent license, so let's say there are 20 people in your organization who might use SPSS, but you have a 2-user concurrent license, so only 2 people would use it at any given time, then all 20 people are entitled to access the free training if they'd like. So if you send us an email, and the email address is here, the info@sv-europe.com, and you just set out who it is that you need access to the training for, then we can get you set up with that. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah. Thank you. Can I add modules to an old version 26 license?
Yes, you can. So the first thing we would do would be to be clear on exactly what software you have, what type of license you have, so whether it's an authorized or concurrent license, and which modules you already have. If you're happy using version 26, or there's a particular reason why you want to stay on that version, then you can purchase any additional modules that you need, and we can provide you with a code for that software so that it will run on version 26 as well. However, we would probably like to talk to you about why you're running version 26, and if it would make sense that while you're adding modules, you use that as a time to upgrade the license to the latest version as well.
Okay, I think I've got one more. Yeah, sorry, I'm in different places. I work for the NHS and we have a lot of disparate licenses across the organisation. Do you think a concurrent license would make sense for us?
Yeah, I really like this question at the moment, because Smart Vision work with an awful lot of NHS trusts, and this is a sort of conversation that's coming up a bit. So it's very usual that within a trust, SPSS is used in many different departments by many different people, and often what's happened is the licenses have been bought on a sort of ad hoc basis as they're needed, and increasingly there's a sort of central library function within many NHS trusts, and that library function is starting to look at providing a concurrent license that can then be accessed by anybody across the different divisions and departments. So yes, it might well make sense. It depends on how many people exactly in the trust are using the software and what the kind of use case is, but that's a conversation that we can help you with. That would definitely be you know, worthwhile having on the telephone, so we can kind of ask some questions about how many people there are, and sort of send you an email summary of what we think might work, so you can then share that with all the people involved. But it might well be a better option for you moving forwards.
Yeah, I've done some similar work with some NHS trusts recently, where one of the first things we did was try and get an entitlement report pulled together that consolidated a list of all of these disparate licenses that have been bought by different departments and what have you over the years. So we can aid getting that information from IBM and combine it with, you know, any information of licenses that you might have bought from us as well. And then try and consolidate all of the different licenses with all different versions and different modules into like a single streamlined, centrally managed license. And we found some of the studies we've done that was an awful lot cheaper on an annual basis. So I would love to speak to the person that asked that question, because I'm 100% sure we can help there. Okay, I think that is everything that I've got that's come in. As I said at the beginning, we will get this processed so that we can load the video onto our website, and there'll be an email that comes out to you that will give you an opportunity to watch the full video back, but also to download the slides. Please feel free to share this content with other people. Oh no, I've got another question now. All of our staff hot desk, so never use the same computer again. How would this work?
So do they hot desk? Presumably they're never using the same computer again. That means that there are fixed computers and they just log into each computer as their...
It's probably a virtual desktop.
Yeah, so in that scenario, the concurrent license setup is likely to be the best. But again, I feel like this is probably one that's easier handled as a conversation, because we can just understand the specifics and if necessary, involve our support team to make sure that whatever we recommend will work in terms of how it needs to be installed for you and that kind of thing.
But yeah, that sounds like a virtual desktop environment where a concurrent license would help. So you have basically SPSS installed on all of the virtual desktops. And then we need to just work out how the license manager works in your IT setup. Yeah. Right. So I will get an email out to you that has the video and the slides. And if you've got any more questions, please ping them in an email to us, follow up with either of us separately, and we would be delighted to talk to you. Thank you very much, Felix, for your presentation, and thank you very much to everybody for attending.
Thank you.